So 1.5 years ago, we were happy to announce that we were granted by the European agency Creative Europe on a project about studying what can be done with the backlists of titles to make them, as many of them, accessible. It was 18 months, project. We're reaching the end. We are starting the dissemination phase, so we will be speaking about that. And today, to present that work and the already obtained results, we have with us Chiara from Fondazione LIA and Ted from KB. They were my colleagues for the last 18 months, and I was very happy to work with them on a daily basis.
Let's see if I can. Yes, you can hear me. My voice is a little bit bad today, so you apologize for that. But I'm happy here to update you on the project, which, as Gauthier mentioned, started about 2 years ago when we sat together and thought this backlist is becoming a real big problem for publishers. Nobody knows exactly what to do. Is it expensive? Are there tools? Is it maybe easy to do at a certain point? If AI tools come in, nobody knew. And there were all kind of costs numbers buzzing around. Somebody said, okay, this is €500 for a book to remediate. Others said something completely different. And we basically say, well, since it's such a large topic, we need to sit together and find this out. Let's see if this works. Oh, well, that is already there. So our main question was about how can a publisher evaluate the impact of converting backlist ebook titles. Many publishers have a lot of titles already in circulation, and the question is what is reasonable, what is possible, and especially what are costs. So we started this project together with 3 organizations. Well, EDRLab, I don't think I have to introduce, since the whole day is already very much about them. Fondazione LIA is also very well known to most of you. So they do great work not only for Italian publishers, but also in all the standardization organizations worldwide. And the KB is less known, but we are the National Library in the Netherlands. And we face basically the problems or the issues which is coming around from this Accessibility Act, because next year we want to have all our ebook services completely accessible. And is that possible? And what are the publishers we cooperate with doing? What do distributors do? So it's not just us, it is the whole network in a country which has to do something and which is currently very interested in what will this backlist problem bring to us. So I do this together. Where is she? Oh, she's there. She's a little. I do this together with Chiara De Martin from Fondazione LIA. She is a web accessibility expert, I think.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm really happy to be here because this is my first DPUB summit. So nice to meet you all. And in Fondazione LIA, I do web accessibility audits. So on websites and apps, and also ebooks, and I am also involved in research and development activities. So thank you very much.
Okay, and I'm Ted, and I'm just a researcher. I've been working with ebooks for a long time. I also worked for accessibility things for a longer time. I worked for Dedicon earlier, and I hope we can bring together a good accessible landscape. So this is a dynamic thing. I had the printout and it was not dynamic. No problem here. Let's see. Can I see that? So the main question was about helping publishers to get remediating ebooks. So they have their backlist, and they have a big question of what to do about it. Before you can say something about it, you need to know what is this backlist, how is it composed, what type of books are there, what kind of files, are they all EPUBs or are there still a lot of PDFs, is it all fiction or is it medical books or is it law books? And it can differ very much between countries. So we had to know what is it, because otherwise we might jump to conclusions which are not correct. So what we did is we first got a lot of data from all kind of countries. Something like 18 countries sent us data from their ISBN agencies, and we went to distributors, and it is quite a large puzzle because there's a lot of overlaps. But that's what we did first, and we wanted to do that because we want to have a good representative set of ebooks to test, to analyze, and to do later remediation on. So the next question was, what tools are there already available? Are there tools where you can put in an existing ebook and do some magic stuff, and then after a while something accessible comes out? Are those tools already on the market, or and are they capable of doing all kind of files, or is it for a specific subset? So then basically with a lot of test samples we made ourselves, or Gauthier made, and Chiara helped, we basically first looked if these tools could cover most of the functionalities we would like them to cover. So what do they do with metadata, what do they do with wrong structures, that kind of things. Basically then we, from the samples that was very nicely sent us by different publishers from different European countries, I think we had about 300 samples, we analyzed them and tried to find what was on average the problem with these, or on average, but for what kind of problems are there, and from that we selected a subset to do really the work on, and the work was done off by Fondazione LIA. We did a lot of real remediation, and basically recorded the time needed with different tools of different tool change to get a realistic feeling of what is possible and what is not. About the backlist, I think some of you already have seen an earlier presentation because the project has already been run for some time, but very short. We found that it's a very high diverse ecosystem. So you basically see that not every country has the same type of files. Not every country has the same kind of categories. Like some countries have a lot of non-fiction, where others have mostly only fiction. And there are a lot of differences which make it very hard to compare. You cannot say something for whole Europe. You really have to look into a specific backlist, and for a publisher go really in their backlist, because it's pretty different. One problem also when we were collecting all these things is that the data about this backlist is very different. So sometimes you have it on an ISBN level and you know everything about it, and sometimes it's not aggregated to some, okay, we have so many ISBNs in the country, but you have no idea what they're used for. So it was quite a puzzle to get something which made sense, but we came close to stating that about 3.5 million ebooks are currently coming from European publishers. And if we consider that there's also a lot of import from outside the EU, like the US and the UK, then you could say that an average user today can buy from 10 million titles, which are all well, mostly not accessible, but maybe accessible. So there's a lot of questions, and it's also, if we have to make them all accessible by next year, there's a lot of work. Just an example, what we saw between, for instance, the Netherlands, Italy, and France is that, even something like fiction or biographies can make a very different part of the total backlist. I noticed sometimes that there are much more non-fiction titles in the somewhat larger countries, but even those, conclusions are a little bit, the difference too much. But we really try to see if we could make some pattern out of that, and if we could translate that into what it would take to basically remediate a large part of the backlist, and that still is very hard. We found, of course, certain things which are everywhere. Like Gauthier and Adrian told us this morning, things which are typically missing is the image descriptions or the additional metadata, which are very new now. So that are things that remediation tools might help with, to add those. But there are also different things like missing language tags, because nobody ever thought about, this from an accessibility thing. And maybe you want really to introduce the language tags in a text file, and that is typically something which a remediation tool might do. And there are a lot of differences also between publishers. So with that, I give the mic to Fondazione General Mike.
Thank you very much,
Correct.
Ted.
And I also.
Oh, thank you. So, as Ted mentioned earlier, a big part of the project was about finding and testing remediation tools. So, first of all, a quick clarification about what we mean with remediation tools. So, in the context of the project, we use this expression as an umbrella term, as referring to all the technical solutions which allows to fix the accessibility issues of an ebook or a digital document. So these tools may be desktop applications, online cloud platforms, API or other solutions, and they are supposed to take as input an inaccessible document or ebook and to output a version that is compliant with accessibility requirements. They come really in different forms. They may or may not have a user interface. They may be 100% automatic or allow also human intervention, so a direct manipulation of the code. We have searched for and selected for testing different tools, both for PDFs and EPUBs. And we have discovered some interesting aspects. So the first is that there are actually no tools to remediate fixed layout EPUBs. But this is actually not a surprise, because fixed layout represents only a small part of the backlist, and it is a complex format, and there is still no agreement on what a fixed layout accessible EPUB is. There is a W3C fixed layout accessibility task force which is working on this, and both EDRLab and Fondazione LIA are part of the task force. The second aspect is that there is no such thing as a magic tool. So to remediate in a proper way an inaccessible document or ebook, there are no tools that with just one click allow to have a perfectly accessible output. And that's why a human intervention and a check is unavoidable, also because it is necessary to check the quality of the output. We have found some tools which did quite some strange things on the code, so some arbitrary decisions. For example, they changed the order of the content in the book, which was quite strange. So it is necessary that a human and a qualified human check the output. In the end, the general impression is that remediation tools still lag behind accessibility requirements. But the landscape is evolving rapidly, so we already know of new remediation tools that are being developed, and we can expect that artificial intelligence will bring some changes also in this field and in this context. So the main outcome of these activities is a white paper, which is guidelines for remediation tool producers, which is one of the outcomes of the ABELab project. You can download it from the ABELab website. It's a free resource, and it's a white paper which describes high-level guidelines that can be useful to help developers of tools, but also publishers to see and to check which functionalities the remediation tools should have to allow a proper remediation. There are two levels. We identified the two levels in the guidelines. The first one regards the functionalities, so what the tools should do, and they can be divided into three main aspects. So find the accessibility problems, fix automatically or allow to fix the accessibility problem, and then check that the file is actually compliant and also valid. And then there is a part about the information that the remediation tools should provide to allow publishers or stakeholders to do informed decisions. And we hope that this resource will be helpful to improve the functionalities of the current tools, but also it can be useful to provide support to the development of new remediation tools. So talking about the costs, it is first important to consider what to evaluate about the remediation, the remediation of the backlist. And one of the main aspects to consider is that when we talk about remediation of the backlist, we must talk about remediation workflows. So it is not just the remediation of the single files or a collection of files, but it implies the setting of a series of steps. And to put these workflows in place, it is necessary to share awareness and so to plan the activities, to select the titles that will be remediated, to select the tools which are most appropriate for the specific features of the files of a particular backlist. And it is necessary to train people, but also train tools if they are based on AI or machine learning. And then after the remediation, a necessary phase is the quality assurance, so the check of the outputs and replacing the titles. And we think that the actions that are organized to implement the production of born accessible ebooks could actually be useful also for everything that is related to the remediation of the backlist. Estimating the cost of the remediation is extremely complex because the cost of works highly depends on the single EU country. So instead of trying to give an estimate of the cost in terms of money, we tried to estimate the time needed to remediate different ebooks, both in EPUB and PDF of different subjects, so fiction, social science, medicine, and a children book. And we discovered, well, according to our test, because it's not a discovery, we've estimated that for remediating an EPUB file, 1 hour should be quite sufficient. And we also find that there are no significant difference between remediating an EPUB 2 or an EPUB 3 files. If the EPUB 3 is inaccessible, of course, because the remediation tools that support EPUB 2 support also EPUB 3. So the format is not a aspect that impacts in terms of cost and so in terms of times, while PDF are more complex. And converting a PDF into an accessible EPUB 3 requires more time. We've estimated 1 day per file, but it also depends on the features of the single file. While if we want to make an inaccessible PDF into an accessible PDF, things are more complicated. And we've found that the best approach in this case would be to remediate the source file, so starting from the InDesign file if it is still available, and exporting an accessible EPUB from the source file instead of trying to remediate the PDF file, because things are really complex, especially for long documents or long books. It can become really, really difficult. So there are also other variables that must be considered when we want to estimate the time for the remediation. First of all, the features of the books, so the number of images and of tables and the number of accessibility issues in general, but also the tool's performance. Because when we were doing our tests, one of the main issues that we encountered was that the tools had some criticalities. They had to be fixed, so we needed to ask for support, and we can say that the tools are still not perfect, and this had a huge impact on the overall times that we, in the end, dedicated to the test phase. It also depends on the scope of a manual intervention, depending also on how well the tool works. And in the end, it also depends on the level of semantic enrichment that we want to achieve. Because if we want to have an ebook that's compliant with the requirements of the law of the accessibility guidelines, it's different than if we want to have an enriched ebook, so with the DPUB area rules and so on. In this project, we did not consider the time necessary to write alternative descriptions because they require a dedicated work and an editorial work. So in our estimates of the time, we just calculated the time necessary to copy-paste a placeholder text in the necessary field in the remediation tools. So the writing of alternative descriptions is another variable that must be considered when we want to estimate the times for the remediation. So what could be the next steps? As was mentioned earlier, we lack a consistent data collection. And this would be especially important also to evaluate the impact of the European Accessibility Act, but also to allow efficient decision making both at national and at a single publisher level. publishers need to be supported in developing methodologies and strategies to analyze their collections. So they need to know what they have in their catalogs, what are the problems of their backlist books, so that they can address these issues and they can develop efficient workflows. And if we in general, managed to enhance the workflow also for the production of born accessible ebooks. This will also have in turn an effect on the workflow developed for remediation. So a large number of ebooks will be made accessible thanks to these enhanced workflows. In the end, there is the topic of AI, which is an hot topic. So we can expect that the development in the AI field will also bring some news in the field of remediation of the backlist of the European ebooks. To close, okay, you can download all the public ABELab reports and resources on the ABELab websites. So we have the report on backlist data and gap analysis, which is dedicated to the results of the collection of the data about the backlist and the gap analysis. So which are the problems of the files that we have analyzed. Then we have the guidelines for remediation tools producers that I mentioned earlier. Finally, we have the final report, which sum up all the activities of the projects, the main outcomes and the findings. And we have also opened a survey, which will be open until the end of June, to gather feedback on the project and to gather also an overview of what will be needed to do to be done in the next steps. So thank you all for the attention.
Are there any questions for Chiara and Ted?
Yeah, hi. I think that we're pretty close to, like, in general, sorting out the accessibility part of the backlist. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on solving just badly marked up titles where the semantics aren't included, where chapters are cut in weird ways between different files in an EPUB? Where the lack of knowledge of the actual format affects the accessibility.
Yes, an important part of all the process is the knowledge, the competencies of the human operator who must perform the remediation, and this plays actually a really important part. And that's why training people not only about accessibility, but also about the formats and also about accessibility requirements will be really an unavoidable aspect. And this also applies to developers actually, because as I said before, some tools did strange things, so they take arbitrary decisions which were not in line with the structure of the book. So, for example, one of the tools we tested didn't allow at the time of the test to have an H2 as the first heading of a chapter, which may not reflect the actual structure of the book. So there is still work to do on both sides.
Any other question? Okay, so many thanks.
Thank you.
Both of you.